Yeah, your mark in your own division is set for us not to be giving y'all all the praise we giving y'all. Y'all don't deserve none of it. You have not done what Jim Kelly and Marv Levy have done. You have not done what Tom Brady and Bill Belichick have done. I don't want to hear your mouth. You haven't done it. Period. You're overrated. I don't want to hear no more Patrick Mahomes excuses. I don't want to hear no Lamar Jackson excuses. What you need to do is get up off that ass and go beat them. Period.
You got to get it done.
All your food delivery needs, make sure you go to Light Snack, that's LYTE snack.com, and make sure for all your deliveries, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you visit Light Snack and they'll deliver it right to your door. And make sure when you get those deliveries, make sure you're ordering those Magic City wings. And remember, their motto, don't forget to lick the sauce. Hello and welcome everyone to another edition of Not Just Another Sports Show, so affectionately known as, because we want you to use it in the streets, just like you use rent due, just like you use no cap, no jazz. You know, when someone tells you something, you say, no jazz. No jazz. That's what it is. That's what we come to give you. But without further ado, we just want to thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for subscribing, commenting, sharing on our Facebook page, which is NOJASSSHOW No Jazz Show. On our Twitter and X at NOJASSSHOW. On our TikTok at NOJASSSHOW No Jazz Show. And Instagram, no.j-show. Like, comment, share. Thank you for joining us. Thank you all for coming out with another, as we bring forth this other segment, as we move closer and closer. The football season, training camp has began for a lot of players. It's in full swing. Rookies reported about 2 days earlier than the veterans, but everybody should be in full swing, getting ready for actual full contact and a few meeting games up into the week. But before we get any further, without further ado, I want to introduce you all again to Destro, to my Cobra Commander, to Man at Arms, to my He-Man. Tank. Y'all can tell I was coming home at 4 p.m. in the 7th grade. Tank, tell the people hello.
By the legend of Grayskull. Hey, what's going on, everybody?
No Jazz has the power. Absolutely. See, this is why he here. This is why I have it. This is why he has me. You know what I'm saying? There's no Batman and Robin. It's Superman and Batman. Actually, it might be Batman, Iron Man, Superman, Thor. You know, they need to move closer into that. And before we go any further, I just want to thank our sponsors. You all know who they are, and you all will see them throughout the segment. We have a few new sponsors that we're not going to introduce until they cut the last blade of grass. That's Bermuda. Right for your first preseason game, we'll introduce all of them to you. Maybe even the first game. Now, before we also begin, I do want to. I want to begin with this because I was going to end with this, but I want to begin with this. It's the beginning of the week and second day of the week, depending on how you count it. You know, a lot of people don't count Sunday as the first day of the week until you actually play football. But we lost a legend today, the great Malcolm Jamal Warner, affectionately known to a lot of you and many of you growing up as Theo Huxtable on the Cosby Show. Went home today. News said it was an accidental drowning, and I just want to, send my condolences to his real family, his TV families. A lot of you all have been posting today about, because we all know what the Cosby Show did for us. We all know what the Cosby Show did for us. Your favorite episodes, but a lot of people don't realize that in that run, with that show being America's greatest family ever, it was Theo's character and Theo's plot that set everything off in that pilot, with Theo not wanting to clean his room and Theo not wanting to, live go to school and do a lot of things. He just wanted to go. So it was that pilot episode that really set the standard for who Heathcliff Huxtable is going to be for all of us as a father. And then we all remember that the final episode, if I'm not mistaken, was Theo graduating from college. So today, a lot of us lost, our big brother, our cousin, for a lot of men, between him and Will Smith, our fashion consultant, because we were relying on him to know what shoes to wear, what, clothes to wear, etc. as teens. So I just want to acknowledge the character of Theo Huxtable and the man of Malcolm Jamal Warner, an icon, for what he did for all of us, as kids, growing into adults, because a lot of us really and truly grew with him. A lot of us were either Denise age, Theo age, or Vanessa's age. Coming up that I don't know too many that was understanding the show when we were Rudy's age, until later. But that was that little range of that. Anything you want to say about that, Tank?
Well, when you were talking about the pilot episode, and I was doing this because remember they were on him and Cliff was on the bed.
The
He
earring.
was laying back. He had an earring. And I remember my first job. I made sure that they didn't schedule me to work on Thursdays because Thursday was Cosby night.
Absolutely.
I mean, everybody tuned in. You're talking about 20, 30 million people every Thursday tuning in. We're talking about Super Bowl type numbers.
Super Bowl type numbers.
Tuning in. Black, white, green, yellow, red, whatever. Tuning in to watch America's Family.
And you know how much they tuned in, because look at, entertainment across the board is parasitic. Whatever's working,
yeah, everybody jumps on it.
So not saying that there weren't TV fathers prior to Heathcliff Huxtable, but what we're saying is, in that era when he hit, look at all of what CBS did, look at what ABC did after that. So please understand, and all and all of them had characters that had their version of what Theo was.
Yeah.
So please keep that in mind.
Yeah, and watching him play Al Collins, play AC in the O.J. Simpsons,
right?
Seeing that, then seeing him in The Resident,
right?
Of course, it was Malcolm and Eddie,
and I forgot he was Mike Tyson's best friend.
Yep.
In that movie, right?
Yeah, seeing him do all of those other roles, and also he won a Grammy as a musician as well. But the thing that was funny when you see him with the beard and the mustache, when you look at him and you say, "Man, that's still Theo," because he kept that same.
He still kept that same look and smile.
Same look, yeah. But thing I remember, and I think it's probably it's got to be in the top 10 or top 5 scenes in sitcom history. And that's the Gordon Gartrell episode when he comes in and explains what all is wrong with that shirt. That is classic. Iconic. If that is embedded in your, if you grew up watching the Cosby Show, either first run or in syndication, more than likely you know that scene by heart. You know that scene by heart.
The Gordon Gartrell episode. Mm-hmm. Who shout out to Gordon Gartrell. When you look at the credits at the end of that, at the end of every show, he was actually some kind of producer.
Executive producer.
On the show. Shout out to him. But everyone remembers that iconic episode, and we cannot forget, prior to Will having all the beautiful girls as girlfriends, it was Theo.
He had a good roster.
Theo had a great roster. Let's not act like we don't remember all these things. So Malcolm Jamal Warner, the family, again, we here at No Jazz send our condolences out to the family, because your extended family throughout America, throughout the world, is grieving with you, today. Now, moving on to football.
Dun, 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 dun.
Football. I'm going to begin with Will Levis and his surgery. And I'm going to let Tank go in on this one, because I personally, just me personally, because I'm a fan of Cam Ward. You could have came in there healthy, buddy. Just wasn't going to happen. But just tell the people what's going on, Tank.
Yeah, just real quick. Will Levis had claimed his shoulder was bothering him last year. He wasn't able to perform up to the ability that he thinks that he has. He had all off season. He had last season. He had the off season to get this shoulder surgery done, but he neglected to do it. I don't know if he was rehabbing it or using PT instead, but he waits until today when training camp starts to say, "Hey, I'm going to go and have my shoulder taken care of, so I have a better quality of life, and I'll be in the future." I think it's a ploy to stay on the team, stay on the roster, get that paycheck, because he knows he wasn't going to see the field with Cam Ward. And he wasn't going to see the field with Cam Ward unless Cam stunk it up. But they are determined to make sure that they got it right this time by selecting Cam Ward. They're going to give him every opportunity to succeed. He didn't want to sit on the bench. He didn't want to. I think what he's going to do, he's going to have his surgery. It's going to make sure he gets his full check for this year. And next year, he's going to, when the offseason begins, he's going to declare himself fully healthy and push either for a trade or be released and think he's going to go elsewhere. Bottom line, this is how I feel about Will Levis. He's got a cannon for an arm, but he's a career backup. I don't think he's going to be a starter, especially not over a period of time in the league, period. I mean, I just think it's a ploy just to make sure he got his money for this year and to make sure and try to prepare himself to be somewhere else next season, because he's not going to see the field with Cam Ward out there. That's all I got. That's all I got on that. Other than, can you think of another first overall pick who gets no kind of run? You hear nothing about Cam Ward. I mean, there's nothing going on. Like, man, you just hear nothing. It's almost like he was the fifth round pick. I think about it. I haven't seen a whole lot on Cam Ward, especially being that he's the first being picked when he was.
No, that's market. That's nothing to do with first pick or Cam himself. It's just Tennessee's market just doesn't do that. It's just not going to generate that. He didn't, which is going to be a great segue into the next segment. He presents himself as a football player. He doesn't present himself as a social media first athlete, because when you really think about it, Ashton Jeanty is with the Raiders. That's a nice market. You don't really hear about him. Other than Travis getting married this year, you don't really hear about him. Jacksonville's market. So we're talking, were those the top three?
Jeanty is he fifth? I think he was fifth.
So it's Cam, Travis. Who was it? See? And you don't hear about him.
Yeah. I hope that Cam Ward does well. I hope that Tennessee gives him what he needs from a coaching standpoint and from weapons and a scheme, so that you can't help but to cheer for him after looking at where he came from in high school, being a 0-star recruit and taking the long road to get to where he did. So I'm pulling for him.
Oh yeah. Look at this market. Third pick, Abdul Carter, New York. So it's I don't think it's more no pub at all. It's, I don't think any draft pick getting any pub except for Shadour, and that's still based on prime, Yeah. So I wouldn't put it on that, but he is getting what he needs from them, and that's an opportunity to not be dealing with a whole lot of attention right now.
Yeah.
Just study. So, and I think that's what all of them need if you really want, my opinion on that.
Exactly.
And speaking of Shadour, there is rumor moving along at Shadour. There's a lot of and I'm going to call it speculative information going out that Shadour is receiving $14 million, or is to receive $14 million in commissions from jersey sales of the number 12 Browns jersey, based upon $250 million worth of sales thus far, making him the number one. Now, here's what happens. My hue and my melanin tone is supposed to have me speak on behalf of Shadour. And before I go in there, shout out to Shadour, shout out to Bucky, shout out to Shiloh, who all went in their representative cities under their father's KFC contract, and they did the little whole KFC job thing. Shout out to that for reaching out in the community. That was cool. Now back to the jerseys. If I'm not speaking with or reporting with what's being said, I am against these people as an African American. What I have to say to anybody that wants to hold me to that, whoop-de-doo, I don't care about you. and I don't care how you feel. The reality is this: 150 million jerseys sold is, let's just say these jerseys are pretty much priced out to what they are, and that's $100 at least, 110. It's about 2.5 million jerseys to get to that number. 2.5 million sales is about 70,000. There's only two, I believe, or maybe one stadium in the NFL with 100,000 capacity. So we're talking about at least 30 teams, at least 30 football stadiums in the league have a seat that can host a Shadour Sanders jersey. That's the one part that makes this whole thing hyperbole, because that's, come on. Then I'm asking myself, in Cleveland, with all the things that they've been through with quarterbacks, have you really, do you first of all, do you have at least 1.2 million people that have bought into the energy of buying a Shadour Sanders jersey based upon the fact that you know what happens to all quarterbacks that come to Cleveland? Now, I can see this being a spark 6 game in, and Shadour starts and he starts to win, and then the hype starts.
Yeah.
But there's too much history to say we're going to wait for those Cleveland fans not to say we're going to wait and see what happens before we just jump out here, and just buy this. I don't. So my point is, the numbers, I'm not saying he's not number one, but the numbers seem to be hyperbolized to me.
Yeah.
It's a little unrealistic, so let's dial it back a little bit.
Yeah, and how many people are these people saying that they're Shadour Sanders fans, or they trying to make a statement? Because, like you said, it's Cleveland. He's a 5th round pick. He has to make the team. What if Shadour doesn't make the team? I'm not saying he won't. I'm not saying, but let's say he gets traded. Let's say he gets cut. I'm not, other than a high pick, I'm not buying a jersey until the regular season starts. Because let's say he doesn't make the team and he doesn't get picked up by anybody else and his career is over before it begins. That jersey it's not like that's going to be a collector's item. That's just going to be a jersey that you got. And I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I don't wear and won't buy a jersey of another team, especially a rival. I only wear Steelers jerseys.
Most of that has to be, exactly. That's why I said 1.2. I was giving it a possibility that if the hype of Cleveland, I had to go off the numbers was hype, and it was LeBron jerseys that did the 1.2.
Yeah.
In Cleveland. So everything else is outside of Cleveland. There were not that many Colorado fans. There were just not that many Shadour fans.
Yeah.
So the numbers, but what someone is going to say is, oh, you're hating because you're not looking at the fact that that's a black man and that's a 5th round pick and that's what you should be rolling with. I don't care. No. Oh, you're a Dallas fan. I can see why you think like that. No. The math just ain't math. The math just ain't math.
If he does well, I would like to see him do well, but at the same time, being that I'm a Steelers fan, I don't want to see anybody in Cleveland do well. I mean, that's me. That's how my fandom is. I don't care who it is. If you playing for another team, I don't want you to do well. If you playing for my team, I want you to do well. I'm not into all this. Well, I like everybody, and I hope they all do well. No, I don't. I'm not lying, because if you doing well,
exactly.
If you doing well, just like people, man, I hope Lamar gets him a ring. I don't want him to get a ring, because if he gets a ring, that means my team didn't get a ring.
Didn't win. Right. I mean, and that means if he gets a ring, they did very well within the division that you root in.
Exactly.
And that means your team may have came in second place or worse. So everyone, regardless of skin color, should have the right to root for their teams. Yeah. But I don't like this era of hyperbolizing, because I'm almost willing to believe with 14 million and 2.5 million sold, there's a cap that the manufacturer and the NFL will put on that commission and the manufacturing of that jersey. It's just, dial it back, people. Yeah. Dial it back. Calm down. It doesn't seem 250 million, and he starts over the next 3 years in sales. Okay,
I would be more inclined. I would be more inclined to believe numbers like that. And like you said, we aren't saying they aren't accurate, but I would be more inclined to believe those numbers for Cam Ward or for Travis or someone who was a high pick in the first round, because it lends more to the narrative of it.
And let's be clear. Johnny Football didn't get those numbers. Reggie Bush didn't get those numbers. You know, and they're not even their first. We're talking about super duper hyped
Heisman Trophy winners
players. Like we don't need this. It's kind of like the Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Drake just rap, okay? You're talented. Move along with the music. Jay-Z thought he won against Nas with Ether, but America thought Ether won. Jay-Z came back and say, "I'm putting it behind me. I'm just keep doing the music." Drake just keep doing the music. People, the man got picked in the 5th round. It's over. We don't have to come up with all this hyperbole to black and white the whole situation and make it like, because I don't even want to go through, because what this is leaning towards, to me, oh, they're not letting him in because of this. We don't even know what's going on internally in Cleveland in the quarterback room or whatever. Hey, they see something and they say, okay, it's best for him to sit, because now we want to save him until we get a lot of things around him. We don't know. I want this whole he got picked in the 5th round black and white racism thing. Let it be football now, because that is really why you feel the need to use $250 million without looking at the real math when it comes to this. You know, that's really what you're doing. That's your whole point. Your whole point is, see how y'all did him? Look at God. Light gonna rise. All that happened anyway. You don't have to hyperbolize.
Yeah, just let him go out there, let him prove himself. If he wins the starting position, best wishes to him for the Cleveland fans.
Best wishes. We gotta stop. We gotta stop. We're gonna double back to college right quick, because I was getting the Messiah.
He gets so fired up.
Has tradition left college football? Now, I'm going to ask you this question, because I before you answer, give me what you feel tradition is, because I feel like this question was raised by the producers based on what's going on now with NIL, and I believe they believe NIL is taking something away from the tradition of football. Now, once you get rid of all that red tape and you get rid of all those contracts, do those kids actually play football, and then tradition begins again. So has tradition left college football? And that's just the question. Go ahead, Tank.
In certain arenas and certain things, it has. It's gonna always have the pomp and circumstance. It's gonna have the classical, halftime shows and the marching band and the trombone and all of that. That's gonna always be there. Hopefully, it won't get to where it's overly commercialized. We got HBCUs do theirs a certain way, and I hope that never changes. Then the P5 do their halftime shows a certain way, and whether you like it or not, it's not changing. But as far as for me, traditionally, I think a lot of traditions have gone away. And when I look at it, I look at rivalries. There's certain games and certain rivalries that are gone now, and they should, regardless of teams going to different conferences, I think those teams playing each other should remain. I think Oklahoma and Nebraska should always play. I think that Alabama and Penn State should still get it on. I think that USC and UCLA should be getting it on all the time. There's certain, but it doesn't have the good old fashioned hate like it used to. They don't seem to, the games don't, when you do have the traditional games, they don't seem to have the same as they used to. It seems overly commercialized now. And again, because you got all these super conferences and your teams are jumping ship, I think it takes away from it, because there was nothing like Oklahoma and Nebraska back in the day. There was nothing like seeing when Penn State would come down and play Alabama. You used to have Pittsburgh and Penn State. They would be some of the top teams going at it. I think that NIL has also wrecked that, because now it's about money. It basically, we've always said that college football a farm system, a free farm system for the NFL. Now it truly is a farm system for the NFL. And you got guys leaving leaving as juniors a lot more. That's been going on. And I think that weakens the game. Now you got guys who just jump ship every time. Well, I'm not getting enough playing time. Or so-and-so offered me more money NIL-wise, so I'm finna jump ship, even though so-and-so is paying me. The dude from Tennessee, the quarterback who transferred across country and is making less money now than he would have if he had stayed at Tennessee because of the tax bracket and the lower salary overall he gets. So I think that college football the tradition and really the sanctity of it is going into the toilet. And next thing you know, hell, Penn State is going to have names on the back of the damn jersey. Everybody gets it.
Purposes, huh?
Yeah, everybody's has these new uniforms. I don't know when this happened, but why everybody, NFL teams do it, college teams do it, little high school teams, everybody's blacks out their uniform.
Or for a certain game.
Yeah, or they have
or white out.
Just or they put black in their uniform in their jersey somewhere. Even trying to think who all they got. Like Louisville, they changed theirs and they got the black in their jerseys. And who else did it? There's a few who've got instead of just keeping the traditional uniforms, they go and I guess they call it modernizing it. Leave some stuff alone. Leave some things the way when you look at this team, you know who it is just by the uniform or how they come out. Do we really want to see that ugly Michigan helmet get changed around? No, we don't. I just think there's too much. I'm a traditionalist, I guess, but there's too much mess going on, changing things around. The rule book, the uniforms, the scheduling. Pretty soon, college is going to wind up playing 15 games. I mean, I just think it's too much. Some things need to stay as they are, but we'll see.
Tag on your last point. Not Kevin Plank. Phil Knight, Oregon Ducks. Kevin Plank, University of Maryland, Terrapins. They kind of are the ones between Nike and Under Armour that kind of, they were only doing so much of that because they can get away with the brand on one jersey. You can get away with a Nike logo just on a regular Florida State jersey, a University of Miami jersey, Penn State jersey, Alabama. But when they get alma maters, Maryland and Oregon, 15 different versions of a uniform, the other schools started desiring that as well.
Yeah. Think about it. I'm fine with Oregon doing it because they've been doing it for so long, and it's like, and Oregon's original uniforms were trash anyway. I'm fine with Oregon doing it because it kind of gave them their own niche, and it's why you started knowing Oregon.
Kind of like Boise State having the blue field. You don't want to have everybody coloring their field. Or red field. Now you're going away from green. But I will say to that point, that was just a case of revenue, which kind of in its own way, you want instant revenue for that whiteout game, blackout game, putting black in the jerseys. It helps with recruiting, because it also coincides with the modernized locker rooms, which you need, and the modernized weight rooms. So it's cool to have the kid come in and put on all those different color waves, uniforms, which kind of does its fair share of diluting tradition in that sense. Tradition, for me, it kind of left the stadium when the talent itself got diluted. When I'm from Florida, so I'll say this. Let's go with the big school. Let's go with the big places. When University of Florida and Florida State and Miami started having to compete with FAU, and Florida International and USF and UCF, it wasn't a big deal, but you did notice how you diluted your depth chart. Just within a state, you start diluting your depth chart. I'm pretty sure Texas schools started dealing with their smaller schools, and it diluted their depth chart. And then you start seeing Texas Techs just come out of nowhere, and Texas is falling off, and Texas A&M, even the resurgence of and when it's had this year, SMU, California was dealing with that. when they probably had their only situation was USC. Okay, we might have to deal with the Golden Bears a little bit, and all of our guys who just can't pass tests. Y'all go play at UNLV or Oklahoma State. We kind of go out that way. I forgot it's another one in there too. Maybe even Boise State. That's how they came up. So it starts diluting your depth chart first. And what I mean by that is the traditions of everything that you love to see every year. You can see that game every year and it be competitive. Took away tradition, because you had to go wait 2 and 3 years to get it back,
Certain teams that for college football is good if they're good.
It's good if they're good. It's good if they're good. Ohio State was always digging in the state of Florida, and they picked and choose their spots, but they were digging in the state of Florida, and they're not competing with a lot of people in the Big Ten, so it allowed them to thrive every year. But if you really think about it, Ohio State still has an older tradition that's a little bit more traditional, even in the winning of the new tradition. Because even their running back took a dive. It took a small little backseat. They always have had quarterbacks that were this, and then they have trouble when they get to the league. They've always had wide receivers, but their running backs kind of aren't what they used to be. So
same with
Michigan. So I guess what I'm saying is tradition, as it expands, you start to see that it was kind of hurting before NIL, due to schools just wanting to get football teams to generate more revenue because everyone knows what football does for a school. That's just what it is.
Yeah. And one more thing as far as tradition that's dead is, do you have any iconic head coaches anymore? Coaches that have just been there. I remember when I was 5 years old, so I was watching Joe Paterno. And when I hit 25, Joe Paterno was still there. Bobby Bowden, he was there. The last one really is Nick Saban, who had a long run. But other than that, these coaches aren't there forever.
Nick Saban gets too much credit. He gets too much credit for having that long run at Alabama. And the reason why I don't want to use him, even though you're right, he had a long run at Alabama and he became one of the more traditional. Why isn't Nick Saban long run at LSU where he began? You know what I mean? Why did Nick Saban?
Michigan State?
Yeah. Why did or Michigan State? Why did Michigan State? Why was Michigan State and LSU's Nick Saban's West Virginia for Bobby Bowden? Like why was that your? Want to know why? Money. That's why you're not seeing money and generating revenue is why you can't see long-term traditional coaches, because those coaches had errors where they took a 2 or 3 year dive and they had to come back and make a 4-year run. You don't have that now.
You don't have coaches. Coaches aren't institutions anymore. Coaches aren't institutions. Bobby Bowden was an institution. Paterno was an institution. Osborne was an institution. Switzer was an institution. Phil Fulmer was an institution. Johnny Majors was an institution. Vince Dooley was an institution. Schembechler. I mean, you had iconic coaches, and they would, regardless of anything else that was going on, you knew that name, and that coach was going to be there. And man, my kid's in the 3rd grade. He has a chance to play for them when by the time he graduates high school, because they were just going to be there and they were going to be putting out quality products. But I think that tradition is gone for the most part.
And it's hard to say because you got to kind of go back on those years. John McKay was leaving USC. Mm-hmm. John McKay,
John Robinson.
Well, Robinson didn't go to the pros.
Yeah.
But John McKay was the one that led that charge when he goes to coach with the Buccaneers to eventually end up with Pete Carroll, who ends up, in the pros. So that stuff was happening. Howard Schnellenberger didn't do it, but he did open the door for Jimmy Johnson, and we were just taking coaches away from the University of Miami. Bobby Bowden was like, I got too much of a good thing going over him, but that's not like he wasn't coerced, he was coerced because Galen Hall on the Steve Spurrier, I believe, still started, so they were plucking, but I guess college football still had their traditional guys who weren't. Go back to Nick Saban. Nick Saban gave it a test too with the Miami Dolphins. Chan Gailey. So I'm just trying to wonder, does college football actually have? Did it lose tradition past the Army, Navy, and Notre Dame, black and white, no face mask years? Like it's been getting.
It's been going down continually.
Yeah, it has had a gradual decline in tradition, with the exception of FAMU band and Ohio State.
Yeah. When you said John McKay, the only thing that ever comes to mind with him is when they asked him back during when the Bucks were in that 0-26 streak, how'd you feel about the execution of your team? And he said, I'm all for it.
I'm all for it. But you know what, man? Shout out, as I wear my Dallas Cowboys hat, shout out to the 1977 draft, Heisman Trophy winner, Tony Dorsett. Out of Pitt. Bucks had the number 1 pick. But
they did a damn trade.
No. They picked Ricky Bell.
Yeah. Bad mistake.
It was hindsight mistake. Yeah. It wasn't the now let's be real. And I don't want to get on that too much. John McKay was not gonna pick Tony Dorsett because he recruited Ricky Bell at USC. Yeah. And Ricky Bell was a dog out there. Ricky Bell was a part of that line of running back. So Tony Dorsett just ended up Tony Dorsett. And in hindsight, it looked like, but for a few years, because it was like, okay, Tony Dorsett come out the gate, rookie onto a Super Bowl win. But in 1979, Ricky Bell, they carried the NFC Championship game and
the Rams beat 9-0.
Basically cheated. So it's like, for a few years, it looked like an even swap. But at any rate, on to the next topic of sports itself. Heading into a recession. Or is it one industry that won't ever hit a wall? I will say this. Being in the heart of Atlanta, and I don't know when the last time you've been here, man. But we were talking about this the other day. I don't know how it's going in your neck of the woods, but I have seen that and this is kind of dealing with the WNBA wearing their jerseys or their protest T-shirts to say, "Pay us what you owe us." But we're going to talk about the industry itself and the market before we get to that financial illiterate T-shirt that they had on. That didn't make any sense because everyone's paid based on the revenue of the actual whatever they're doing. But we've already talked about that, so I don't want to go on that too much. Just look at one of our earlier episodes. But the point I am getting at is this. I have noticed that a lot of sports bars do not survive after February 3rd.
Right.
The NFL and college football weekend, Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night, Monday night, as you get down the line, some Wednesday night, Thursday night football, even with Amazon kind of, tanking a little bit.
And Saturday
football all day, Sunday all day, has sports bars thriving. Soon as you get to the NBA season, where it's totally NBA, you start seeing wood on the sports bar. You start seeing clothes. I believe that's why, an iconic thing in Atlanta, the Black Hooters on Peachtree closed down.
Moment of silence.
Moment of silence for the Black. It was a place where you're supposed to go visit.
Yeah.
When you come here, that's like the Martin Luther King exhibit, Stone Mountain. You supposed to go there. AUC.
You had to go there.
You supposed to go there. That's what you're supposed to do. Me and my friend got kicked out because he got mad. He went in there and a girl he liked was pregnant that day. Like, hey, I come in here to see. I ain't here to see what they talking about. You off the market, man. Please, I was like, man, it's get crazy. But he said it because he was like, that's what I'm supposed to see. That's what they sold me.
Quick story, real quick about their Hooters. All right, me and my son, he was 5 or 6 at the time. I took him down there because I was going to see the Steelers game. I took him with me. We in there, he's 5 or 6 years old. He sees the girls walking around, and he sees and then the girl, she comes, and we talk. The waitress, she comes and talks, and we're talking, and she's a rich, and I'm a Steelers fan. We were talking, and we would talk trash back and forth and all that. And he goes, "You like her, don't you?" I said, "No, why?" And he goes, "Yes, you do, because y'all keep talking." I said, "We're talking about football, and her job is to have me let's talk, engage." And then I told him, I said, "No, you're saying that because you like her." And he goes, actually, she's not my type. And I'm like, so he proceeds to stand up at the age of 5 or 6, look around, and points to this other girl and goes,
That is his type.
That's my type. And I'm looking, and I'm like, you got good taste. So yeah, that
And
Hooters
let's
was
not
iconic.
forget, I'm cool with that story, and I love that story because that's what Hooters on Peachtree was.
Yeah.
You can stand up and say, I don't like her, but I like her.
Yeah.
That's what was going on in there. And we've seen a lot of this happen. The NBA doesn't make money like they used to make in the 90s. So I think, long story short, the NFL and college football to a degree, because you're always just going to just tune up for Sunday on Saturday. It's just what it is. I think football, especially in the South, Northeast region, is just an inelastic good or service. Where the NBA, not
I think
so.
it's market. Yeah,
Yeah.
NBA is market. In NFL and college football, it's like, especially in South and Northeast, all along the East, and even in the Midwest, it's football. I think those two sports are recession proof.
They're
Because
definitely recession proof.
yeah, because we all know people who they don't have two nickels to rub together, but they got season tickets. Or they find themselves at least 3 or 4 games paying a couple of $100
And a couple $100.
for.
And I'm gonna tell you something. Going back to what the WNBA did, the NBA did itself a disservice, and I think the NCAA and NBA need to partner up a little bit more. I understand the argument of, and this might be another segment to a show, so I'm not going to touch on it too much. I understand the argument of why not let these kids get paid? Why do they have to go to college? From an individual standpoint, one and done, and those who skip high school and they go overseas, or those who skip high school and they have to do all of that, before those rules. From an individual player standpoint, I feel like it's cool. But from an overall business standpoint, you are really losing out on not building your heroes in college to have people follow them to the pros.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why basketball hurts, because we tracked Jordan, we tracked Kareem,
Magic.
we tracked Magic, we tracked Bird, we tracked Allen Iverson, we tracked Vince Carter. LeBron was different because we made him a thing earlier and we kept tracking him. So maybe he didn't need college. There was an area where I guess Jordan was still playing, so he allowed us to kind of continue looking at the Garnetts and the T-Macs and the Kobe's who decided, not to play. But that still does not change the fact that the Christian Laettners and the Antoine Jamesons and the Rasheed Wallaces and the Grant Hills, the Shaqs, still didn't make their mark with that marketing through college thing. The WNBA, your most marketable players come from teams you saw win championships, like Asia Wilson. And not that they won championships, but they were in there. Well, they did. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. Not saying you can't just jump to the NBA, WNBA, but we found love for you in college. So
yeah, we watch you. You watch them for 3 and 4 years.
We watch them for 3 and 4 years. I think the NBA and it's diluted because the guy who played 3 or 4 years in college in the NBA is seen as, well, you wasted 3 of your best years, so now you old. And if you had to stay in college that long, you're not one of the best. So I think they're losing a lot of their following, because of that. Carmelo playing that 1 year and winning that championship that year did so much. I believe I always weigh in on what if LeBron did go to Ohio State and did the same thing and then go. Like he might be a little bit more beloved for some reason.
And you gain new fans, or you tap into a market, because like you said, we grow up, we watch and track you through your college career. And even if it's one and done, people who haven't heard of you got a chance to see you and say, oh man, now that dude's special.
If we saw you run through the tournament, that's enough.
Yeah.
So I think they lose. They lose something. I mean, Zion Williamson had a lot of marketability. All that stuff fell off when he got to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
His trajectory
it was through the roof.
Duke was through the roof. Cooper Flagg's trajectory for what he did this year with Duke is through the roof. So the formula for that really, really works. And I think I just personally believe it works better than straight into it, and then the kid go overseas and play for this other team and like that,
Yeah, if you're going overseas to play and then come back, nobody knows what you were doing overseas.
Nobody knows what you were doing.
We don't watch international basketball unless it's the Olympics or something like that. Nobody's tracking.
Nobody's tracking the American player playing international, but we allow an international player because we know he over there. Like that's okay. Yeah. That's the reason we don't know him till he get over here. We get that. So I said all that to say, if y'all leasing out them buildings, just try to come up with a contract that is August to February.
Yeah, I mean, sports overall, I think most sports are recession proof to a degree. Some are more foolproof than others. Football is foolproof. NASCAR is foolproof because the people that follow NASCAR in Formula One, they're rabid. But if you don't swim in those waters, you will have no idea. But those people are dang nuts about
and
it.
They do every so often have a carryover.
Yeah.
Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon. I forgot the one. They do have names that catch.
Yeah. Every now and then somebody crosses over.
It cross over. So just kind of keep that in mind. And what makes that crossover is when you find out that's the guy that's just winning everything.
Yeah.
I personally believe. I mean, I think Tiger Woods did his thing because he was black and that started that thing. But if Tiger Woods wasn't winning, tournaments.
Yeah, if he wasn't winning, he would have just been somebody else out there. He's got it's like, well, that's a neat name, Tiger. But that's as far as
you're a black
other
golfer.
Than that,
yeah, you have to have a level of dominance, to do that. And that might be another segment as well. Now, moving right along, because we are now into the NFL, and we are about to start our segment over the next, what will it be?
6 weeks.
It'll be 6. That'll host all conferences?
Yeah, I think 6 weeks will do it, yeah.
Or 6 episodes or so, which might end up being bi-weekly. We're not going to say what we're going to do. We may do one, leading into the season, but we're just going to stick with the coaches. What do these coaches need to do this season? We're going to base it on the teams. We might say something about the picks that they use, but what are the coaches going to do? Or what do they have to do this season to get over the hump, get to the championship? What boxes should they be checking this year in order to, keep their teams relevant, in a winning situation, or keep them in some level of a winning situation to maintain their jobs? Because I think the whole thing, as far as the coaches being on the hot seat, is every year. I think people can say, oh, he's safe. A lot of these coaches are safe just because when I look out here, I don't see anyone else to grab where it makes sense for me to take you. Yeah. Let's go back to the point of and this might be another thing that keeps them safe. Tank's question of, is college football traditional? I don't have anybody doing anything traditional in football that shows a dominance to where we can throw some money at you to put your name in the bucket to have the NFL coach feel like we can replace you. Prime may have that. Prime may have that right now, but Prime still is at Colorado trying to feel himself out, because I still think he personally wants to actually have a winning in a championship season before he, just leaves on a hot air balloon. He doesn't have anything like an iconic offense like a Chan Gailey did, or my man that went to Philly, or even Steve Spurrier with the fun and gun.
Yeah.
He didn't have an iconic offense or defense to say, okay, bring this over here to the league.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So we're going to just deal with the coaches. And tonight, we're going to run down the AFC East coaches and the AFC West coaches, and what do they need to do this season, and what type of marks do they need to make. Now, do you want to go? We'll start with the AFC West. Do you want to go? You say something about that coach, I say something about that coach, and we go to the next one, right? Right?
Yeah.
We'll do that. We'll do that. So, having said all that, we will begin with the top dog. Or do you want to go top dog last?
Hey, just throw them out there.
All right,
because at this point, everybody's 0-0.
Everybody 0-0. So the top dog in the AFC West is Andy Reid with the Chiefs. And we'll swap. Andy Reid, for me as a coach, needs to this season, and a lot of people might disagree with what I'm saying because of his reign and his tenure and his already Hall of Fame status and what he's done prior to. But no, 2025, Andy Reid, I believe your main goal or one of the goals you need to accomplish this year is manage the hunger. I need you have a situation where you can reload and you can plug and play in your offense. And your team went 15-2, I believe, last year, made it to the Super Bowl, got blown out by just a better team this season. And I think that has allowed them to, which could be a blessing in disguise, that has allowed them to have a fire in them that says, yeah, we went 15-2, but that last game of the season was and it was a little different. It was a little different than what the Bucs did to them in the Super Bowl. Conceptually same, but I didn't have my offensive linemen and all of that stuff. Last season was just a blowout. That's Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Andy, I just need you to manage the hunger. And what I mean by that is your core players who you know are going to be there for you are going to be there. But you got to keep your young gunners hungry in order to really, not saying Mahomes and Kelsey, defensive tackle, I forgot his name, don't have any.
Jones,
Sean, yeah. Don't have anything to do with that. I'm just saying you need to add, you got to have another one just come out of nowhere, in the Avengers and be the catalyst that keep everybody going. So manage the hunger. That's what I believe Andy Reid should do for me.
I think that Andy Reid needs to develop Noah Gray, the other tight end, and get him to a point where when Kelsey isn't on, because Kelsey is like an older fighter now. He picks his spots and he can dominate at times. He's not going to beat you all 10 rounds, but he might beat you 6 out of those 4 rounds. So those 4 rounds that Kelsey's not winning, he needs Noah Gray to win those rounds. So he needs to develop Noah Gray, who had 437 yards last year. He needs to develop him to where you start saying, okay, they got a 2 tight end set. They got 2 tight ends on the roster because I think the long ball is coming back to KC this year with, Rice, he'll be back. So he needs to develop that tight end. He definitely needs to because I don't think that KC, as long as Mahomes is under center, I don't think they're going to be overly concerned with developing a true running game. They got just enough of a running game to make you think about them running the ball. They're going to still run the offense through Mahomes. But I think with the Noah Gray or whomever else he can develop at tight end, I think that's going to be the key to getting them over the hump. Because you think about last year when Kelsey wasn't doing Kelsey things, the offense was struggling. So I think he needs to go ahead and develop Noah Gray or another tight end somewhere in order to get the offense going back, clicking the way it was, because really they haven't had that deep threat since, they got Xavier Worthy. But
they got Xavier Worthy, but he was young and Rashid was Rashid.
Yeah. So I think that you get Gray, he gives you that mid target, that underneath, because these other guys are deep threats. So I think that's what Reid needs to do in order to get KC back to where, okay, you're really concerned about that offense on all levels.
Okay. Moving ahead in the AFC West, this might be kind of peculiar to y'all because there are a lot of believers out there that don't think Saturday has anything to do with Sunday. And I have friends that, Saturday ain't got nothing to do with Sunday. That's just their personal opinion. I can tie it in and parallel it all I want to. They just don't feel Saturday has anything to do with Sunday. It's just how they are. I'm going to say what I have to say, and they're still going to say, Saturday ain't got nothing to do with Sunday. That's just who they are. Denver Broncos, Sean Payton. This is all you need to do. Because I think if you do this, you're doing something. If you do this one thing, you're automatically doing something in this division. Your goal for this year, to me, take the state of Colorado focus out of Boulder and bring it back to Denver. If you have the state of Colorado, both of them can still be happening. Mm-hmm. But if you have the state of Colorado more focused in Denver than you do 30 miles, however close it is, in Boulder, and everybody know what I'm talking about. We're talking about the NFL, so I'm not going to say any names. If you can make that transition, you have to have had, you're either leading the division or you won 11, 12 games. Trust me. If you do that, and that's all you, whatever it takes for you to make that happen, that's what you do. That's my take on it.
Yeah. My take, I'm a wobble, and drop it like it's hot. I think that Peyton just needs to stay the course. He developed a very good defense last year. That defense is close to getting, they're sneaking up on being an elite defense. He needs to stay the course on offense, develop a second receiver outside of Cortland Sullivan, and watch that, because that secondary Denver has is rather impressive. So he just needs to stay the course. I think he's doing what he needs to. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a prick as a person, but he's a damn good coach. I think he just needs to stay the course, not get ahead of himself, not start thinking, okay, we got to do it this year. They might not do it this year, but I think they're going to be substantially closer to getting it done this year than they were last year.
Absolutely.
So just stay the course, because he's getting all the pieces together. He's getting all the pieces. And who thought that was going to happen with Bo Nix? I didn't.
All right. Next, the LA Chargers. I have 2 tasks for you, Mr. Jim Harbaugh, that you need to accomplish this year just for me. Do what we think you're going to do, and that is show improvement, which you do. No matter who you coach, that's just what you do. Show improvement, whether that be, I'm going to say 2 games in the W column more than you had last year. Show improvement, which you're on track to do. And I'm not going to put, I am not, if doing this has you win the AFC West, that's fine. But just win LA. And that don't mean that doesn't mean go head to head and beat the Rams if you all play them. I mean, take the Rams crowd, take the LA crowd, that's a whole lot of Dallas and a whole lot of Raiders, and now a whole lot of Rams, and win LA. If you make that happen, that might be the equivalent of 11, 12 games if that's happening. And that's what I'm saying about that. Win LA.
Harbaugh, your goal and your mission should be to get Herbert to produce in the postseason. There's been too much talk about Herbert having this, that, and the other. He's Carson Palmerish in the one aspect of where he has everything that you think that you want and need in a quarterback, but he's got to turn into postseason wins. You need to get some postseason wins out of Herbert, and he needs to do it this year. He's been paid like he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. He gets hyped like he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. You and him need to have a meeting of the minds and get him to produce in the postseason like he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. If you can do that, you set the foundation not only for this season but for the coming seasons, and to possibly start winning some divisional
games. Absolutely. All right. Now, who we might feel is taking up the rears and with great reason, but this still doesn't take anything away from what this coach is and how he sneaks up on us and his capabilities. Pete Carroll, Las Vegas Raiders. You can already see, they have not lost their DNA. The Raiders are who they are. And what I mean by that is they are always, like, resume matters, but it doesn't. Our first goal when hiring a coach is, does he have personality? And that goal of that coach with personality is create personalities under you. And the way they've created those personalities is, what I mean is the players. And the way, this is just history. The way they've created those personalities is with wins. So I say, Pete, figure out how to at least, I'm not going to ask you to be Madden. I'm not going to ask you to be Hell. But give me a little bit of Flores, yourself, and Art Shell. Create you some characters within the game that give us somebody to hold on to. If Genty has a good year this year and just makes people, and I'm not saying he's him. I'm not saying that. But if he continues, if he has a great year this year and you start making people hyperbolize the whole Bo Jackson, Barry Sanders thing for the Raiders, and then you start, we haven't done this since Marcus Allen and Bo Jackson. You start doing that, that means he has some yards and some people are doing some other things. If you can sneak in and get you a Tim Brown out of that, or clip branch, you do that. And I think that translates, and it stretches across the board. I think that translates into about 9 wins for you looking in the next season. That's your goal. Create some personalities.
Pete, I don't think Pete is long for the Raiders, not necessarily because he's not going to produce, but because of his age. The Raiders haven't had a coach that lasted a decade since John Madden. I think prior to that, Flores was there, I want to say 8 years, maybe 9.
How long was Art there?
Art wasn't there, I
Art didn't
think
make
like
it
maybe
decade.
about 4 or 5.
Okay.
Everybody else, Gruden, Shanahan, shoot, the past 20 years, they've had a new coach they've changed coaches on average every 3 years. So Pete, as far as like KD said, get some characters, but build a foundation, a solid football foundation that is rock solid and that is built to win in the future, and it sets the groundwork for the next head coach probably within the next 3 years.
Okay.
That's what you need to do. He wants to win now, of course, but he won't. I don't see Pete Carroll being there 5 years. I don't see him being there 6 years. I think 3 years, and he either retires or he gets retired. So you need to build it up this year. You need to be building up for the next guy who'll be taking over in another 2 years after this year. That's what I think Pete Carroll needs to be doing. He can't tell you that. He's not going to tell you and say, hey, that's what I'm doing. But that's really what he's doing. He needs to be rebuilding the Raiders for future glory.
Emphasis on glory. Now, we're going to go in reverse. Now, we're going to stick with the theme, but the reverse is you're going to go first.
Okay.
And we're going to go AFC, and we're going to start at the top. Sean McDermott, Buffalo Bills. What does Sean McDermott need to do, Tank?
McDermott needs to just get the job done and win the AFC championship. He's been building, he's been fighting towards it, and now this is his time. But in order to do that, he's going to need to commit to James Cook running the ball sooner. He scored 16 touchdowns, but he only had 1,009 yards because they didn't start utilizing him till later in the season. Some people will say, wait, that's when you need to use him, but I think in order for the offense to be a little more balanced, that's what they need to do. So I think he needs to do that along with get that secondary to start producing more turnovers because they only had like 13, 14 turnover picks the whole season. I just think his concentration needs to be on getting that team over the hump. He needs to let them know, hey, it's Super Bowl or bust. That's what they need to be doing. That's what their focus needs to be every week. Hey, we're going out to win this game because each game we win gets us closer to winning the Super Bowl. Because I think that team they've got a good shot at getting there if they utilize their running game, get some turnover, and also somebody develops a wide receiver because they didn't have it last year. They didn't have anybody who was really putting up numbers and doing anything in the passing game. Josh Allen doesn't need to become Cam Newton where he's doing everything on the offense. So focus on getting over the hump. That's what you need to do, Sean, because they might decide to get rid of you at the end of this year because you fell short again.
Exactly. And Sean, in parentheses, because I know we're just talking about the coaches, Sean and Josh Allen, I'll tell you what you need to do for me. And a lot of people are going to be looking at my hat. Guess what? We beat y'all twice. So I got the right to say this about y'all. And yeah, I'm living in the 90s. God damn it. You ain't catch that, did you? God damn it.
Yeah,
but anyway, Sean, let's be clear, bro. And Josh Allen, you in parentheses. You're overrated. Your whole concept is overrated. You're turning into who was Cincinnati's coach with Carson Palmer, defensive coach?
Marvin Lewis.
Marvin Lewis. You're turning into him. And let me tell you why. The AFC East is and has always been, let's take advantage of the fact that we have a weak division. Old Buffalo Bills made their run with Marv Levy and Jim Kelly because when you look across the board, the Dolphins and the Jets and New England, that fell off. So guess who? Coming in here winning 4 straight because our division is so easy. The Bills. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady took that formula, and to be totally honest with you, Pete Carroll and Drew Bledsoe took that formula a bit too. They kind of got to start. They turned the light on it. and took advantage of the Jets being weak, the Dolphins being weak. The Bills got somewhat weak and coasted through their division. And when they coasted through their easy division, it still translated into, for the Bills, at least AFC Championship wins and Super Bowls. New England took it a step further and made it AFC Championship wins and Super Bowl. I don't want to hear the excuses. Well, I'm sitting in the division with Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, Josh. Guess what? You do realize John Elway was sitting there John Elway and Dan Marino was sitting there the whole time. Jim Kelly was making a name for himself. You do realize there was a guy named Ben Roethlisberger and Peyton Manning. We talking this just this conference, same conference, sitting in there, getting to the big games, Tom Brady was still making it in there with Big Ben and Peyton Manning. This is why I say us giving Sean McDermott, parentheses Josh Allen, y'all really got it's not even this year. Y'all need to make it 2025, 2026, 2027. AFC Championship game wins because
getting good.
Yeah, your mark in your own division is set for us not to be giving y'all all the praise we giving y'all. Y'all don't deserve none of it. You have not done what Jim Kelly and Marv Levy have done. You have not done what Tom Brady and Bill Belichick have done. I don't want to hear your mouth. You haven't done it. Period. You're overrated. I don't want to hear no more Patrick Mahomes excuses. I don't want to hear no Lamar Jackson excuses. What you need to do is get up off that ass and go beat them. Period.
You got to get it done.
You got to get it done. I am rating you off the tradition of your own division, and you're not even close. Or if he just all the media and the sports writers and all y'all that keep giving them boys this because he made it, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Josh Allen should be crying about not winning MVPs. No, Josh Allen should not have to cry about winning MVPs because he's the one making it to the AFC Championship game. Lamar, you can have all your MVPs. Let's not forget. Who was that? Jim Kelly wasn't crying about MVPs.
Jim Kelly was, nope.
I'm winning. I'm getting to the Super Bowl. John, Big Ben wasn't crying about the MVPs. Tom will win MVPs, but he wasn't crying when Peyton was winning them. I want Super Bowl MVP. So that's where y'all need to get. Because you're overrated. You really are. Because your division is not that strong. Now, the next one is, they so much bottom feeders. Okay, I'm going to just go with the New York. Man, I'm going to go with the Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel. You go ahead.
Mike McDaniel, you got to develop a defense. You got to do something. I don't know if it's upgrading the offensive line. I don't know if it's committing more to the running game, but you got to do something to keep Tua healthy. That team will only go as far as a healthy Tua can take them. And you've got to make sure that what's his name? Zach Seiler. I forget his name, but he's had 10 sacks the past 2 seasons for the Dolphins. And unless you're a Dolphins fan, that name don't mean anything to you. But he's got 20 sacks the past 2 seasons. You need to develop a pass rushing counterpart for him so that he isn't seeing the double teams. You're held as an offensive genius. Keep your quarterback healthy and do something as far as getting that pass rush together, giving him so that you don't just have one because they're not getting turnovers. The bottom line is you're going to be on your way out if things don't work out, don't start changing pretty soon. Because that 52 points you hung up on Denver on the other year, that's way in the rearview mirror. Nobody even think about that anymore. When y'all were clicking on all cylinders. You got to get it done. You need to win at least 11 games this year to consider yourself to be safe. And it starts with you doing something. I don't care if you have to put armed guards out there to keep Tua healthy.
All right. For Mike McDaniels, let me tell you what you need to do for me. I want you to pay attention to that number that Tank gave, because that was a very beautiful number, 11. And I say 11 because 11 does represent a nice number of games to win and realistic because of what Buffalo actually is in your division. And that means you're competing. 11-6 in the AFC could be wild card, but it gets you in. So pay attention to that number. But the reason I'm using that 11 number is because 11 is the 11th month of the year. It's November, baby. Y'all need to figure out how to play some November football. Y'all need to figure out how to, Mike McDaniel, you need to figure out how to get your team when the snowbirds come down to Miami and they start vacationing, keep them out of the club. Miami traditionally has always had this problem. This is nothing new. But for you, if you don't figure out how to, it's cool. They get down there in September and that sun and that heat plays to your advantage. But when you got to go meet those other teams where they are, I know you can't bring the heat with you and the brightness of the sun with you, but you better figure out how to win from November to December and in the second half of the season, or you're out of a job. That's just it. I don't care, and I haven't looked at the schedule. I don't know if y'all go play in the hot in the cold games early in the season and then come down to the hot. But whatever the distraction is that you all have after the 7th week is just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You better figure it out, or you're gonna be out of a job. Now I'm gonna go with the New England Patriots. I'm gonna go with the New England Patriots and is it Vrabel? Vrabel there?
Yep.
Vrabel
Like
there.
Vrabel.
First year. Go ahead and tell him, Tank.
Vrabel, your job is to, even though I know you're tied to Belichick because you played with him, you need to infuse a different DNA in that team because Belichick and Brady are not coming through that door. You need to instill your own system, your own beliefs, instill some toughness, and let May do what he's capable of doing and get it and develop a defense. You just need to develop some kind of mentality that y'all are out to get the job done and put last season's fiasco in the rearview mirror and somehow get Stephon Diggs to buy in and get out there and play to the best of his ability. Because Diggs, I don't know what it is about the wide receiver position in general. For a lot of these guys, when they have a little success, they just go off the rails. You need to put Diggs back on the rails, and maybe, I don't know, depending on what you read, depending on what they say, maybe if he's not messing with Cardi B anymore, maybe that'll focus him instead of going off renting a damn castle for the weekend.
Right.
But
run in front of.
Yeah, you need to get their whole team focused on the one goal of just some toughness and building towards the future, because y'all not going to do anything this year. You might win 7 games somehow, but y'all aren't doing anything of real note this year. You need to be realistic about that and knowing yourself and knowing that you're building towards something, and not, we didn't win the Super Bowl this year, or we didn't win 12 games this year. You need to take the same step that Dan Campbell did when he took over Detroit. That's your blueprint. That's what you need to be doing.
Okay.
Because you ain't winning nothing this year.
That kind of mirrors mine. So I'm just gonna piggyback off everything you said, and I will say this: Coach Mike Vrabel, you know how I know you in the midst of Brewski and
Seymour
and
Woolfolk,
cornerback, the safety. I forgot his name.
Harrison.
Rodney Harrison. Do you know how I know you in the midst of all those names on defense? Because you seem like that guy in the locker room that worked harder than anybody else. I'm not saying you didn't have talent, but those other guys you weren't those guys. But you've made yourself a name in the midst of names. Go find 5 of you on defense and 5 of you on offense and put some C's on their jerseys and start recreating a new wave for New England. That's your goal this year. Go find 5 U's. It can start on defense because that's where you come from, and I understand that. But go find 5 of U's, and I think that's when you'll end up with your Brady and your Welker. I'm not gonna make Drake make Brady. I'm just saying you're gonna, because I just don't think I think he has the size to become the talent. But I think that's where you're going to find your Brady and your Welkers. What's the wide receiver that before all that came that ended up almost getting that or got that Super Bowl MVP?
Troy
Browns. It was Troy Brown and Branch. Deion Branch, yeah. Go find you in your locker room, because you're not going to win this year like that, but you can start something that could be the start of something by next season. Or maybe even surprise some people if Drake May shakes up a bit. You know, if Diggs shows some kind of synergy with May. But start right there. Now, Aaron Glenn and the New York Jets.
The team that he affectionately called bottom feeders. Aaron, you just need to tell those guys, hey, we're playing balls to the wall, 60 minutes. 60 minutes of hell. Tell Justin Fields, hey, go out there and do whatever it takes to move the ball and get us in their zone. I don't care if you make mistakes. Make them big. Let the whole team know, hey, if you're going to make a mistake, make a big one. Make a big mistake because you took a smart gamble and it didn't work out. Mm-hmm. Make a big mistake because you thought the guy, you saw a chance at going deep and you just underthrew the ball or you overthrew it. Take chances when you see that. Don't be safe. Go out there and play balls to the wall. Let's learn each other. Let's learn to trust each other. Learn to trust me and know that this thing is going to work out. It's not going. We're not going work. We're not planning on going worst to first this year, but we are planning on going from poor and lack of effort to all-out effort and accountability. That's what you need to establish this year. If you go 0-17, you just go 0-17. But do it going out guns a-blazing and know that you're going to be better off in the following season because you did all that. You've earned trust amongst teammates. You've earned trust from the team going into you, and you've learned to trust the team itself.
Okay. Two things I need you to do, Aaron, and you probably already did it. Or you should have done it. Just two things. I hate to talk about you like that, and I wish you the best, but, when we say bottom feeder in a weak division, we calling you out. We're calling you out, and that means we don't expect much. But what you need to do, first off the bat, let them boys know there is a new Aaron in town. Get your mind off that other Aaron. Let it go. Just let it go. I don't want you to think about him until Tank might not like this one. September 7th. Because he's coming back to you, and he's going to have vengeance on the mind. Y'all got to beat him. If you don't do anything, you need to lift more weights that week. Tell old girl she can't get none that week. But y'all need to beat Aaron Rodgers when he comes to your stadium in that Pittsburgh Steelers uniform. I don't care if you go 1-17. That needs to be the one. Because he wants to destroy you all. He wants to beat you. That is going to be a game to watch. And the crazy part about that is, that's game one. Mm-hmm. You opening up the gate. You win that game, it might be motivation to go 2-15. I'm not going to stretch it out. I'm not going to stretch it out too far, though. I'm not going to stretch it out too far because you got the Bills the next week. So I'm just going to be realistic. But, yeah, you better let them know. There's only one Aaron in this. Well, I don't know how many Aarons it is, but there's a new Aaron in town. And September 7th, he is not coming in our house with his new team and beating. And asterisk by that, when he get back on that plane, have the Pittsburgh Steelers questioning what they did until the next week. That's your goal, Aaron Glenn. Yeah. I'm just, based upon what you got, that's all y'all need to do. Now, in the coming weeks, we're going to do NFC East, NFC West. I'm going to switch to the NFC. And then, AFC North and South Center. So, but having said all that, this has been a great show that we sparked today. Very good conversations, a lot of insight, kept it clean, kept it short. Add to whatever you want to as far as the comments are concerned. If there may be some things that you disagree with or agree with. We may need to elaborate more, but that's what the comment section is. That's what the share section is. Make sure you do that. Now, Tank, any last words or subject matter?
Yeah, I got one thing. The idiot in charge, the idiot in command, whatever you want to call them, the NFL is none of your concern. Neither is MLB. You don't need to be saying about what team needs to change their name back because it has nothing to do with you. There's a reason why the NFL doesn't want you involved. They kept you from being involved back in the 80s when you tried to weasel your way into the NFL via the USFL. They don't want or need your racist ass. Stay out of it. Would you be happy if we would have changed the team name to the N-word or to the Spics or to the Chinks? Is that what you want? Leave it alone. It has nothing to do with you. You don't know shit about sports anyway, other than how to ruin it. For you to think that you can block the Commanders from coming in and getting the old RFK Stadium, getting as far as that land and building a new stadium, that has nothing to do. Federal government don't have jack to do with NFL stadiums being built. I'm tired of you butting your nose in there. Last week it was the damn Coca-Cola formula. You telling them they need to change the cane sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup. That's none of your damn business. Stay out of stuff that doesn't concern you. And frankly, nothing should concern you but releasing those damn Epstein files. I'm tired of you sticking your nose in everything. And that's all I got to say about that. But I might be putting up some other comments a little later. But I'm tired of him sticking his nose into stuff that has nothing to do with politics. He don't know shit about the politics, but it has nothing to do with his position as a dictator, because that's what he's trying to be. You have nothing to do, and I'm glad that the Cleveland baseball team has already said we're not changing the name back, and I'm glad that the Commanders owner has said they aren't changing the name back. That's all I got. But man, this man sitting on the toilet at 2 and 3 in the morning tweeting out BS, and I'm sick of this. I'm sick of it. And yeah, it's sports related. Okay, so don't nobody say, hey, they didn't have nothing to do with sport. Yes, hell they did. And that's all I got to say, KD.
Okay. No, hey, I wish I had some smoke in the background. But it's funny you talking about that, and I'm not going to elaborate on it too much. But it's funny that a guy that was once a general wants to be the only commander in town. Real sports historians know what I'm talking about. Now, for my last words, I was about to touch on it earlier, and it might get edited out because I'm about to say it right now. For everyone who is still stuck on and where they are, because I think Mace and Cameron had the conversation about the black quarterback, and Mace said what he said. It's not a thing anymore. We're tired of you all making this a thing because that thing turns into racism. I think it's more the argument was stereotypical, not so much racism, but a lot of people, just kind of cross those words. I just kind of want to say this, and I'm gonna keep it brief. We have come a long way since Doug, a long way. And I understand that we in history because we want to make the history because the whole thing came about because I think there's gonna be 15 black quarterbacks to start in the NFL this season, which is a record number. Guess what? That record may be broken in 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029. So I don't agree with making it a thing, and here's why. Because a lot of people want to go back in history. Do you know how hard it was? Do you know how hard it was to become a black quarterback back in the days and what they took us through? And I'm not straying away from that. But now we have the data. We do have the data that proves that once we broke every bit of stereotypical concept and aspect and characteristic that they were using against the black quarterback has happened, and they still don't mind picking black quarterbacks number one, paying black quarterbacks top dollar, making black quarterbacks MVP multiple times. And I say that because if they truly were going back in the days against black quarterbacks, because guess what it was? The NFL since the 1980s has always been about 78% black players. A lot of the black quarterback, no, the quarterback in the NFL itself is a corporate position. A lot of it was politics. A lot of it was we need you to lead not only our team, but we need you to be the face of our company like a CEO and present yourself in such a manner that we feel like we can market to our fans for a long time, which is why a lot of times they weren't going with the black quarterback outside of the fact that his talent and his play wasn't what it was, and they said he couldn't do this and he was incapable of doing that. That's no more. So I need us to get off of that because here's the truth. We've had black busts at quarterback that were number one picks, and they still pick black quarterbacks after that. We've had enough Andre Wares and Akili Smiths and Jamarcus Russells for them who back in the days were saying they can't make it, who didn't make it, say, we're still going to pick Cam Ward. We're still going to pick RG. We're still going to pick Steve McNair. They looked at other players and said, we looking at the black wide receiver and the black running back who having all these babies and all these kids from multiple wives, and they cheating and they getting in these crimes. I fear that a black man with money who is our quarterback is going to do these same things. I fear making him the face of my team. That's marketable. Call it what you want, but they had those fears. But guess what? Donovan McNabb still became Campbell Soup Man. Cam still became that. Dak still became that. Mahomes still became All-State in the midst of, and this is nothing against him, in the midst of Michael Vick going to prison. Michael Vick spitting on people. And I ain't bringing this back up because you've done what you needed to do. But even after Michael Vick, they still picked Jameis Winston, number one, who didn't have enough character and everything was sitting in your favor, and you still were immature at that time. And I'm not bringing it back up. I'm talking about black quarterbacks. The stereotypes of everything they said about the black quarterback has actually came to fruition, and they still give us a chance. Let it go. They have the data to prove that they were right, and we have the data to prove that we were right. It's not a thing anymore. Let that history and that racism be. Because for every Warren Moon that didn't get a chance and he stepped up to the plate, they still picked Cam Ward after Deshaun Watson did what he did and got paid. So they are not doing anything wrong to us anymore because they've given black quarterbacks every opportunity to make a mistake, and they don't hold a future against them. It's not a thing. Black GMs, a thing. Black owners, NFL owners, a thing. Black quarterback, we're in there now, baby. And we get to do exactly what everyone else gets to do. The problem is we need more Warren Moons and a little less Vince Youngs, So all I'm saying is quarterback, we're here. Stop making it a thing. That's over. We've arrived. 2 Super Bowl MVP, Jalen Hurts. Let it go. 2-time MVP, Lamar Jackson, who you told can you play wide receiver? I remember Freddie Solomon got done like that. Now you got 2-time MVPs. It's over. We proved them wrong, and we've also proved them right. Did the black quarterback from the HBCU that could have started, that should have been starting over Terry Bradshaw had an opportunity. He had a drug problem. He admitted it. We got to stop acting like we innocent and everything with racism. Nah, we took chances from ourselves too. It's not a thing. And that's all I have to say about that. Now, this has been not just another sports show. No Jazz. Please follow us on Facebook at NOJASSSHOW, on X, NOJASSSHOW, TikTok, NOJASSHOW, Instagram, NOJ. I want y'all to pay attention to that HOW because I want y'all to be like, well, how is this show so good? Exactly. Watch us, follow, like, comment. We love you. Subscribe, share, and make sure you join us. It's going to be a wonderful baseball season. Ooh, Lord.
Lord.
Baseball.
It's going on too, yeah.
Baseball too. So just keep all that in mind. And that's it for me, man. You want to give the people a salute, Tank?
Holla.
Peace. You just watched another episode of No Jazz. Follow us on YouTube at No Jazz Show. And make sure you hit us up on Twitter at No Jazz Show. Make sure you hit us up on Instagram at NOJ.A.S.S. Follow us on Facebook, on our Facebook page at No Jazz Show. All right? See you soon.